Welcome back to the LCO, delivered by Menulog. You guys, guess what? Skimmy, he won 3 jobs earlier. I'm going to give him an opportunity to trade in those jobs for dares.
Jobs on, mate.
Pick your poison, mate. Jobs are certainly on. I've got one hand for one job, another hand for a second, 2 dares. Don't despair.
So, would you like to trade your jobs in for dares?
Like, answer the question.
I've already said, mate, load me up. Equip me with the epic dares.
Beautiful. You take 2. I'll take 1. We're going to run out of dares. Everyone's going to laugh. It's going to be really funny. Production's going to love it.
You know?
Come on.
I get you, Rusty. For the first time on this broadcast, I get you.
Yeah.
Well,
I understood. He put his hands out. I didn't even need to listen.
Somebody's got to do it.
That's all it takes. Either way, we got PGG and
good to have
Mammoth.
you, TV,
Let's
mate.
talk PGG first. Now we've drank our scrum-diddly-umptious dares. Yuri, he's in mid. He's apparently the best there's ever been in mid in the LCO, according to all the damn players. So, are Mammoth in trouble?
Are Mammoth in trouble? Well, it depends on PGG's mood today. If they are, then Mammoth is definitely in trouble. But we do have those new picks coming in for tonight, where we do know that Balkan is quite an aggressive jungler himself, being coming from Korea himself. So perhaps we might see some spicy picks. We did have that buff on Elise, and we do have a buff on Evelyn, which I'm not sure we will see, but I'm sure that PGG will find themselves another dub today, hopefully.
The biggest buff of all, Kitty, let's be honest. Master Yi. Okay, we've seen Balkan playing in
Master
Sonic.
Balkan.
Praying.
Said it.
Just bring it in. Just bring it into a competitive game, please.
Really hope it slips on in. Now, Mammoth, they're going to be slipping into the server too, into that rift. What are they bringing? I'm seeing a kind of familiar face, which we haven't seen for a while. It's the happy man in mid.
Yeah, Ray Fury.
Oh, wait, it's Ray Fury.
He's back.
It is Ray Fury. Big smiles in the mid lane's back. The best interviewee, I would say, of the LCO for raw energy.
Facts.
If we were to compare him to everyone else. And is returning. I don't know exactly how this changes too much from their draft overall. I would expect it's still going to be scaling from him mid. It's just that's Mammoth as a whole right now. But he's clearly cheering to be back.
Well, you know, Corky got nerfed. Mikru got nerfed because of that. So Mikru's out. Ray Fury's in. I think it just makes logical sense.
And Galio got buffed. Oh my god, it all makes
The
sense.
Return of the King.
Ray Fury is coming back with that Galio, and he's going to make his debut. Well, not debut, but return.
He
Galio,
spent
I'll be
5 weeks in the Riot holding chamber, waiting for them to conjure up a buff. It's my time, Kitty.
It's his time. And his Galio is actually really clean from Split 1, so I'm actually really excited for tonight's match where PG and Mammoth go up against each other.
Wasn't that their debut comp? It was like Jarvan, Galio, Samira,
Yeah,
or
it was
something
like
really
really
crazy. It was just
LPL
like
kind of F.
full AoE.
They haven't played like that since this split.
I miss
One
that.
can dream,
They've
Rusty.
been playing Kale Corky every game.
No, don't crush me like
As if we
that.
get Galio Jarvan from them.
They're going to run it back.
I hope they do.
They're going to wind back the years.
Is that all? I'm just waiting. I feel like Skimmy's just full of everything
I
today.
want to
I
say
don't know
more,
when
but
you're
I'm
done.
just going to get judged. So I'm just going to behave now.
Hey, I'm not judging. I'm here for the ride,
I'm
baby.
relaxing. I can feel the cringe. It's wafting over my way.
Either way, look,
Stinky
2-0
cringe.
head-to-head. Mammoth
Ooh.
can make it a 2-1. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Either way, PGG, you did mention the Yi, the Balkan. He's been tearing that thing up in the solo queues, and I'm really, really hoping we get to see him tear it up here on the LCO, because it could be fun. It could go astronomically well or terrible, and that's why I'm excited.
Ray Fury is the guy that played Master Yi before Master Yi got buffed. So maybe he knows like the ultimate counter to this if Balkan does pick Master Yi. Maybe Mac knows
You know what
a bit
is really
too
good
much.
into Master Yi is Fiddlesticks.
True.
Because he presses Alt, runs at you, can't be slowed. You
runs
fear
the other
him,
way.
and he just boom, gone. That's it. Hard
Sorry.
counted.
Absolutely gone. Now look,
Yeah.
I'm thinking you guys deserve a little treat.
Okay.
Take those away from Skimmy.
Have another sip, you reckon? Sure, mate. Never thought you'd ask.
Beautiful.
I love my Dare Ice coffee.
This is not the Dare Ice coffee scheme. It's actually an ADC head-to-head. So we're going to be
okay.
looking towards that bot lane because we think that this is where both these teams could win or lose this matchup. Mammoth in particular, Voice last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago now, he was saying that he feels like he is that X factor in the team and he needs to be the one sort of going forward and playing really aggressively because sometimes a lot of the other players on the team don't do that. So now is his chance because Siva, even though it's not there in the most picked, we know he loves that champ. The buff's coming through, so maybe it's his patch.
He's the only person that played it this entire year. So having asked him when it got buffed what he felt about it, he said, yeah, it's fantastic. It's been played around the world. I wouldn't be surprised for him to lock it in here. I guess one of the similarities that stands out for me is both of these players have played the Seraphine AD carry. Although I wouldn't say it's their strong suit. I'd much prefer them to play the likes of a Kalista or a Lucian. Anything that's sort of early aggression, both proficient Samira players. So I feel like there's similarities between their aggressive tendencies to try and play for the early game and translate that into a multi-kill madness moment come team fights. So I think bot lane's a really interesting place to watch.
Certainly will be. I think top lane's going to be a very interesting place to watch. Winter, do you also think top lane's going to be a very interesting lane to watch today?
Nah, it's going to be most boring lane to watch because I'll just crush him.
Wow.
Why would you do that?
Well, Captain, just free win. So, yeah.
Free win. Well, hopefully your words do stick by at the very end. So, in our previous interview, you actually said that PGG was still working on their communication skills throughout this split. So, did that actually play into a factor for PGG's performance last week?
Yeah, our communication is getting much better compared to earlier split. Because now I'm talking more and Yuri is talking more too, so we're getting in together now.
Are you also on this rogue butterfly bandwagon? Is this a thing or is it just a rogue thing?
It's just a rogue thing, but I don't like it.
What?
I get. Oh no, we love it, but hopefully you also climb aboard the butterfly train. But
Get around me.
I do want to fly into our conversation where looking into other regions, we do see a lot of Ornn picks for the top lane where we actually don't see a lot of teams in LCO rely on this pick as much. So why do you think that is?
I feel like people want to do something like crazy early game, but then Ornn is kind of late game pick. So I think LCO players kind of don't like it.
Interesting.
Well, we'll see how that one unfolds. Either way, Winter up, we'll let you go, and I guess we just won't watch top lane because it'll be a snooze fest.
Cheers.
No worries. Easy game. So
He
don't watch
seems
top.
Tired.
Does, eh?
He seems real tired.
Maybe let's just say focused. His energy's being routed to a place towards the game so things don't go wrong because Winter is usually much more cheery in those interviews.
Zen state. He's just focused on winning.
Chilling.
He's in his cocoon state.
Maybe he saw
He doesn't like
He
it.
doesn't like that.
Oh
that
no.
Skimmy was being the energy today and he's like, I don't even need to bring anything.
I'm passing my energy to you, Winter.
Very
Through
true.
the means of technology.
You guys, pass your Twitch points to me, to us, to the Dare fan vote. Please put them in. Let us know how you think this game is going to go. It'll pop up. The poll's up there somewhere. There's a button. You press it, put some points on. It asks how many. Usually it defaults to 10, but 10's boring, so put them all on. That's what I'd do. Either way, prediction time. Let's have a look at what we think is going to happen in this game. Ooh, no spice, no spice. Favorites all across the board. We all agree here. What are we thinking? Is this like an 80-20? Are we giving Mammoth 20?
I actually give it a 60-40 PGG favored.
60-40?
Because if you think about this patch, it's actually very favored towards Mammoth because we have the Galio buff coming in for Refury, we have the Siva buff coming in for Voice,
Okay.
and we have a Karthus pick, which is, I believe, something that Arsh is very fond of in Twitch chat. So hopefully we do get to see some spicy picks coming out of them with unexpectedness.
Is it? Do we think Mayfarn plays Karthus though?
I think if you're going to be a jungler on a team that has a lot of Karthus players that back you as coaches, you probably want to be.
Very true.
Well, you'll
Very
learn
true
quick.
indeed. Well, let's see if he has learnt because Champ Select's ready. Are we getting Karthus? Find out right now.
We shall. Yes, it's a massive, massive game here from Mammoth because they are at the lower rungs, really, of trying to make their way towards playoffs. It's a must-win game. Literally, it feels like every game right now, it had to go on an absolute tear, Rusty.
Yeah, I think right now the only team that is like always must win is Kanga, but Mammoth, you know, they're biting at their heels at this point, right? You want to get every win you can to stay ahead of them,
Yeah.
to make sure you stay in a top 5 position. Let's knuckle down on this draft first and foremost, however, as the Gnar is taken away from Winterer. Of course, Gnar has obviously risen a whole lot in priority. Seraphine also going to be taken away with the Renata. So just a lot of specific targeted bans, but a couple of meta things obviously in there.
Yeah.
Talia ban is an interesting one. I feel like with the buffs to Talia, kind of bring her back into perhaps a point of strength. I wonder if that's away from Refury and Mayfarn, perhaps not just jungle. I feel like the changes are quite nice for jungle though, but Vel'Karn's a Talia fiend.
Well, same for Yuri. I feel like they're Pentanet, the only team that have actually flexed it in both roles. They're split, so it's interesting that they respected that much to ban it away from Mammoth, who will just answer the call and say, well, that's the first pick Wukong if I've ever seen it. PGG, however, what will their response be? Is that enough to warrant a first rotation Sylas?
It feels like we're getting a lot of Sylas blind picks here, no matter the situation. Just as a response on red side, if Renata is gone, Senna also going to be up and available. So while the Kalista combo is not going to be there due to Renata being banned, they will get the Senna.
Really curious now to see what we're going to get in this bot lane, right? Given the fact that Leandri's changed has gone through, if that really does open the door for a lot more mages in the bot lane, perhaps a cheeky Ziggs if need be, right? That will seem to be the go-to. Ashe, sure.
Senna Ashe, I think, is bonkers. Ashe can also build the Leandris, so
she can, yeah.
You aren't locked into, you know, your standard Ashe support builds is an Imperial Mandate, but I don't think you're locked into that one. It's almost like Swain, who has been locked in here, has got the flexibility in those item builds.
Very flexible.
Depending on what the composition or yourself is after. But Senna, you know, adding so much flexibility there just makes it so dangerous being on red side here, being able to pick later and later for composition. Mammoth, you'll see this hovered at the very least, and it is going to be confirmed. So we will have our Sivir. We said this at the start of the day. Wait for Mammoth. We said it before the draft started. Mammoth will pick it.
Yep.
To no one's surprise, they will.
Thank you very much, Mr. Voice. That's what we wanted to see, and we'll get to understand what it really does, what it really can do from what I've seen. A bit of a variation, or at least we've moved away from what was the boomerang from a million miles off screen, slowed him down, lethality, dark carvers. It feels like we're much more towards on-hit crit. Get the Kraken Slay, get the PD, get the IE, and live, love, laugh. Well, Tahm Kench does come out, so there is not going to be any mage shenanigans as we could have theorized. Yuumi is going to be the first Denial away here from the Sivir. Have you seen much of this new Sivir? What's your impression of the best pairing with it?
I feel like the new Sivir is just a scaling pick. So anything that helps it get through laning phase for me is always going to be optimal just because it scales with crit a little bit more now, right? So I like enchanters. I like personally. I will always think that Sivir Karma is overpowered as a duo.
Very fast, yeah.
So that's going to be my default answer 99% of the time. However, you can also see it as a Senna Tahm Kench on the opposing side. So if you have a supportive preference that you think is your more free lane, then by all means go for it. But I'd say it's pretty hard to take them both out.
Certainly is. Another Jarvan, our second of the day, actually. This time, a lot less mobility for them to try and dodge out of that one. A flash will have to be burnt, and if it's not, then certainly a Sivir and a Swain are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, this Jarvan has a lot of stocks, for sure. Rel actually going to be the lock-in with it here. Ali G, we know he's flexible in his champions that he can play. He can be the hyper-aggressive, you know, tanks like you're seeing. He's also got a pretty mean Nami.
He does, yeah.
And Enchanter support, so... The Sivir's going to be coupled with the Rel. That is much more forward-facing. Rel has been noted as a Tahm Kench counter because of the shield, right? If you hold the Q for the grey health, then you can continue to all-in. I'm not going to say that this is picked so much for the lane itself, as perhaps it does have value there. This is definitely just a comp counter and provides a really solid base of engage for them, but they have engaged. If there is one thing that Mammoth's composition has here, Skimmy,
it's endless. It
is a Sejuani, a Wukong, and a Rel that can just go.
Certainly not short of any ways to empower or give Voice the uptime for the Sivir to certainly run down and act much like a Jinx and just farm up kills for those multis. Pentanet are going to round out their composition here with a GP. So if we talk about layering down and guaranteeing that one target will fall on down, there's an Abyssal Dive, there is a Cataclysm, there's a Flag and Drag, perhaps there's just a Cannon Barrage on your head as well. And whoever gets locked in place will just be popped.
And we have seen Gangplanks really handle Sejuani early up until about level 3, depending on how junglers get active up there, and Ignite Gap starts to just do a little bit more between the levels of 3 and +6 because your ult is used for lane.
Sure.
Gangplank very rarely wants to use his ultimate for that lane, would rather influence a side. So there's definitely breakpoints here looking at Mammoth where I feel like they can be strong, and I feel like Mayfun has angles everywhere to gank, right? Has 3 lanes that he can gank for, 3 places where he can put his focus and attention. And really, PGG on the other side, a little bit more defensively minded, a little bit more focused on the farming, on the scaling, on getting to a couple of items there across most of their members before they really go crazy with those skirmishes. So it could just be a case of trading objectives, letting the map exist, just simmering, and just taking good decisions where they exist. But as I say that, I also firmly acknowledge that the jungler of Pentanet.gg is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And will probably just make plays constantly because he's also on the Jarvan.
He certainly is, and it's a champion where you can certainly flourish in that pattern, and I think it's such an important characteristic for him to do so once again today on this Jarvan, because from week 7, day 1 into day 2, the performance difference between that Wukong into the Lee Sin, where he got 13 kills now, a new record. Hopefully, this is the return to the Balkan we all know and love.
And a couple of really big hits as we get into this draft completed screen now, right? Jarvan working with a Sylas, they've picked Swain into it, right? Like, they're fully aware of how poor that matchup can be. We've seen Yuri be a monster on this Sylas as well. So mid-jungle working together is the highway for Pentanet.gg's gameplay success.
Well, let's load into this one then, Rusty. It's the battle for playoffs as, well, the games really are starting to run out. There's not much time to really knuckle down. Every game matters here for Mammoth and for Pentanet. They just want to keep that run alive. They want to keep themselves in a firm spot playing for an upper bracket position. Well, let's talk to Chippies this time around from the side of Pentanet, mate. Welcome back to the show. How are we doing this week?
Doing bloody good, thanks, mate.
That's always good to hear. That's always good to hear. Well, tell me about this one. We're just hyping it up, I guess, because Mammoth are still in the running, but it is a must-win game for them. So, what was your message really to the boys coming into today after that great win, and just sort of how you want to retain, I guess, as Rogue coined it, the butterfly buff?
About the butterfly buff, it's like, I'll just say ever since we started losing a lot of games, we've put in way more work than we were doing before. Like, everyone's waking up a lot earlier, trying way harder in scrims. So I'd say just the work we're putting in will make us scale naturally into beautiful butterflies. That's
beautiful. I love that we're double downing on it. Winter, maybe he's not a big fan, but I'm a believer. Well, tell me about this one. I was really excited for this bot lane matchup. Was there ever a concern that, given how akin Voice is with the Sivir, that, you would have a reliable answer to try and beat it?
Yeah, I feel like I was going to play Sivir today. I don't know. This guy just gives me Sivir vibes, but after the hotfix nerf, the champ's still pretty shitty, so I wasn't too worried.
Oh, well, easy as that. It's a vote of confidence. Well, Chippies, mate, we're going to leave you there. We're going to jump into this game. Wish you boys the best of luck.
Thanks, Chill.
So just as a quick overview for everybody as well, now that the Sivir is being picked, and you just heard Chippy's point of view on that as well. The changes to Sivir, the base damage is quite low on the Boomerang now, so it is very different to what you're used to seeing from it. The Q now scales with crit chance. So that's where you're looking at like 3 items, is that the classic Infinity Edge type of breakpoints. The Q can do a lot of damage, but it is unreliable if it doesn't crit. We might have to hold that conversation depending on how this plays out. Mayfun. See where he goes.
Where does he go from here? He hits the blast cone, but he has to wait out and see what Balkan does. It's going to be a drive, but no way.
He's got the wards down. That was really well done by him, but he's going to miss out on the rest of these camps, right? So ultimately is staunched out. Has got 4 camps on his side of the map, however, to go back towards. And so the decision has been made by Balkan that you can't take everything away from me, but you can have all of your own stuff. Just don't take it from me.
Let's be honest, though. Balkan's going to be very game to try and run in and do a bit of counter jungling of his own to find Retribution only 3 minutes in.
Yeah. Balkan, speaking of.
He's looking for it. That's a fantastic Abyssal Dive, but the Spell Shield is good, and that means that Voice is not going to get knocked up. There's the Piercing Darkness looking to try and slow them down. The Ignite comes out nice and early. The root is not there. A flash on forward with that shield to try and slow him on down, and Balkan will not have the answer to knock up Voice anymore, because that is double summoners committed.
Yeah, Voice actually turning to try and trade with Praedyth after the abilities were dodged. Perhaps just, again, not knowing where Balkan is, not even assuming that the jungler would be there, actually just trying to turn and burn. Gets queued by the center, slowed, and then they very easily get to chase down the rest of that play, force the summoner spells out of Voice. Again, quick rehash for the Sivir is that E no longer gives mana, it gives health. It does give movement speed though, so being able to use that to dodge an ability lets you run away and dodge. Fighting in mid.
Certainly are fighting in mid right now. Fury is very, very low. Oh no, Balkan. He's missed absolutely everything. He was really praying that was enough.
That was actually really nicely dodged by Fury, to be fair. He wasn't going for the flag drag. He was doing a QE combo instead.
Yeah.
I was looking for lethal damage there just by hitting both abilities. But recognizing that he was about to pinch himself positionally on the map, chooses to juke just to see if that's when Balkan throws the abilities. He was correct. Fury still struggling in this lane, all things considered, is definitely losing in health, but has got Mayfan here to get him out of jail.
There's the Never move into the Demon Eyes to try and get another stack, but it's not going to be found as Mayfan jumps into life here.
Buff.
He doesn't have a slow, so don't have the uptime to try and take him down.
But still, they'll be able to rescue. Praedyth is dead. Praedyth is dead.
What?
Praedyth is...
Why?
Someone call 000.
What have we just panned to?
What? Praedyth?
What is life?
Mark Lewis.
What does it mean? Why is there a dead center on my screen being zoomed in upon,
What
just
in
taking
the
a tower
actual
under
heck?
no pressure?
Fast recall.
Is a faster recall.
Fast recall.
Absolutely. Gold denied. Worth. So we can question mark ping that one out loud for the rest of you guys in Twitch chat to try and ponder.
And we've seen some things in the past couple of weeks, haven't we? The teleport in mid lane by Fido is the first one that comes to mind. We're starting to run out of terms beyond Giga Chad.
Yes. We're saturating the term.
We're just crimson chins. No two LCO players can be in the same room. Their jawlines will just intersect.
Cutting shapes like knives, mate. I'll tell you that much. Chiseled like the gods.
They wear chopping boards, just in case.
Well, hopefully, we get a chance to speak with the big man later on and figure out what that was all about. But for the meantime, back to lane we go. So it's a straight 2v2. Mayfan did pop his head into lane for just a second to see if anything was on. There was no wards in those lane bushes, so he could have perhaps made something happen. But top half of his jungle is respawning, so he's deciding to go for that instead. That opens up the option now for Rogue to try and get a few cheeky autos out.
So just to summarize as well, while we might have a bit of downtime and people won't try and go for ganks, the reasons that I like the new Sivir is that the W bounces 8 times, but it can bounce to the same person multiple times in the way that like a brand ultimate will work, if that helps you think about it.
Yeah.
And then the spell shield also provides movement speed, which I think is insane value for being able to get out of situations where the spell shield is useful. I like that it gives health. It just draws into question how you play around your mana pool, because the Q cost is still high, and because you're not going lethality, do you go for a tier build?
I think that begs the question, right? Do you go tier build? Do you need to go Essence Reaver to still fulfill the crit chance obligation? Yeah. Much the way you perhaps would do on, say, a Draven as well. Well, it's another poking into the mid lane here from Balkan to see what's up. He's once again not going to find what he's after, which is a kill, but he's going to certainly showcase his might. Going to look to find Retribution, as we mentioned only, 5 minutes ago, about his first red buff being stolen away. So how about I just steal your one instead? And now, level 6 is on the cards. No flash for voice. Ali G does still have his, however.
Very gankable bottom lane. No teleports, no reinforcements, no way to support them. It's a cannon wave crashing as well, Skimmy. Dive is 100% happening.
And to start this one off, it's going to come in with a cannon barrage. Winter wants an assist. They're going to look to try and take out voice. It's just a bit of a fadeaway. Flag, drag, Cataclysm. How do you do? Walk away from that one. Fury, though, with a beautiful TP, comes in and flash secures it. Now can Balkan get out of harm's way? Surely he just jumps across into that Dragon Pit, which he does so with a flash. But I think Mammoth will be happy. It's a 1-for-1.
But look at the way that they're also losing in mid lane. Consider the way that they did mostly lose bottom as well. For what it's worth, Pentanet.gg should still be supremely happy with that, but Mammoth should be content knowing they got some kills back, knowing that they keep themselves on the board and in the game. Admittedly, Fury, while the teleport was solid to assist in the dive, has to immediately go back to base because he has no potions, had so much money ready to spend but didn't actually have the ability to reset prior to that teleport. So he actually does lose out from that trade. Thankfully for him, gets the kill. Because if he wasn't the recipient of the kill, that could have been quite bad for mid lane here. And Yuri would have just accelerated. Drake having a pretty solid 1v1 with Balkan, but should be able to heal his way back up through that one. Compliments of the center.
First Drake goes their way. I'm really excited to see what Yuri goes this time. I'd love to see him go to Leandri's again. A lot of tanky targets could certainly put on a bit of a clinic of doing the top damage as a melee champion. Let's run it back with this gank once again.
Balkan just holding his EQ and ultimate for as long as possible. One of the difficulties as well of Mammoth's composition is the lack of mobility, but the teleports come through. Mayfan level 6 is not there for him, so not going to be able to stop Balkan from flashing over the wall. At the end of the day, as you saw in that trade, Mammoth respond quickly. They are showing signs of life in this game, but there is still the matter of can they scale into this one when the absolute demon in mid lane, Yuri, is on the Silas.
Certainly is. Most farm in the game right now, and he's tearing up an absolute storm. Yet to find himself in the mix for any kill participation, but he won't be too unhappy with that, to say the least. There is our match of the week, another game featuring Pentanet.gg, a hotly anticipated rematch, actually, against themselves and Order. Certainly a game to keep your eye on.
A huge battle for second place, for sure. Of course, you'll get to see Order later today. See them strut their stuff as a precursor, as you are with PGG now. They need to be careful this Ritual doesn't reset, but they should be able to secure this one uncontested. Mayfan definitely been controlled, right? Been handled, been kept at bay. Hasn't found an entry point into the map at all. Hasn't played for the Sejuani lane. Mid's really been the focal point, but this did come down to a conversation from draft alone. If you are the Silas and the Jarvan, you want to be working together, not just to kill mid, but to use mid to go to sides.
I think that's what we're looking to try and do now here, Rusty, as well. He's poked his head once again into this lane and seeing, well, will anything take place? Because if I can get a kill here, we can summon the hero, we can break that first structure, and we can look to rotate around the map and do really whatever we like. That's enough to force Mayfan to show up here. Become a bit of a 2v2. See how many of these jungle camps they can try to steal away. Mayfan still getting a bit ahead of that trade.
LEG moving up as well. You can see the Pentanet.gg weren't going to waste any further time staying in the area. But they are very happily farming in bottom lane. It still feels weird to see Siva's Q do 0 damage presently. But it will get back there.
We can return to the old memes of trust in the 500 CS Siva.
Yeah, just instead of a Kayle top lane, it is now a Siva bot lane.
That's it, we've just flipped the script.
They've transitioned their carry, their scaling option. Kayle was, of course, banned. I don't know if they were just going to pick Kayle with Siva anyway.
Imagine.
Oh, I can.
And then draft Corki. Oh, Exodia. Perfection. Well, there's Parlay coming out there from Winter, looking to try and get himself in the mix of a cheeky solo kill. He's got himself that assist thanks to a very good cannon barrage towards that gank that took place in the bot lane. Now clobbing himself a big beating and a flash away from the boomerang. Paprise tilted, and he's going to pay the ultimate price. That could have been a kill for him, but now he's got, well, 25 seconds to contemplate.
Yeah, Paprise went for a really greedy combo there. Didn't throw the ultimate out as fast as he possibly could. Actually waited for the flail to connect. Isn't going to result in him getting the kill. Mayfan is going to be spotted by multiple wards down here, so I don't know if there's going to be a cross map available. But they are looking. LEG, you're expecting he's going to have to flash. Herald to be summoned. You want this wave to crash as fast as possible. You want to see a Rel flash engage.
Big question for me is how quickly he can look to try and shred that Devour shield.
I just back away.
Yeah, Yuri had the inline track. Reefer wasn't really in a position to try and back them up.
And so they just lose.
They just lose the trade.
They just lose across the board, right? Paprise just, he goes for the 1v1, goes for the heroic play. Balkan was there anyway. Yuri, just by having priority in mid lane, just stops any kind of cross-map play. And Mammoth just left wondering, what can we do? They have an answer for everything.
What could have been, unfortunately, doesn't result in much. Oh, LEG look to interrupt, surely. You look to interrupt that one, and you see, can we get ourselves a cheeky kill? Voice with the ult. They're on the hunt. Brave just literally comes out. And much like he's consumed, same with that Senate route.
Yeah, I think they were really banking on and waiting as long as possible. Peprise is going to find himself Balkan here, however, should be fine. They're both just tanks.
Yeah, but now Yuri's got the Glacial Prison, and he's forced to flash away. Piercing Darkness comes from base thanks to Praetor. Are they going to look to try and turn this one around, looking for the kill inside the Cataclysm? They do find it, but it's Balkan that gets the kill, because Yuri's already dead. He burnt the flash, but that wasn't enough, Rusty.
I mean, with the Senna ultimate being involved, it was still a 2v3, and ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. You take that if you Pentanet.gg any day of the week. But Mammoth still, again, showing signs, being active, doing what they can. Yet every time we look at the gold, every time we take stock of the game as a whole, it's starting to rip further and further out of their hands. Really, of not their own doing, but just good play from their respective opponents here. Right, just taking every little bit that they can away from you without slowing down.
I'm glad to see Yuri went back to base. He purchased a crown, then sold it. And he's actually picked up the Leandri, so we are going to get some big numbers coming out of the Silas once again. LEG finds himself stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's going to try and jump across. And he did have a flash, but I think it was just animation locked.
Certainly was, just stun locked to the end. Mayfun going to move his way down bottom now as well. Voice. It'd be a 2v3 at best. Balkan chunked though.
Balkan's just dead, is he not? No, flashing away to the tri-bush. Oh, it's not enough. It was so close.
That burn is really close.
Oh, it hurts. Sub 100.
Balkan's the type of player who died of that Gromp, but he's going to have a smite charge, so he'll be alright. He'll be alright. And Mayfun does well to make sure that, one, the Krugs are protected, and two, the bot lane of Voice is protected here also. When all's said and done, it does feel like a lot of this game has just come down to a difference in mid lane, not specifically in a 1v1 sense, but just how Pentanet.gg have used mid to win the map, where Mammoth have been stuck dealing with mid, unable to make a trade or make a response, and just kind of accelerating really out of control for them.
Not a pretty picture at the moment. I'll be hoping they can look to try and even that balance book in just a second. Voice now with the Kraken Slayer. Component 1 on the long journey to becoming a 1v9 champion, which is, I always find funny when he talks to us about how he wants to play these aggressive early game champions and then Sivers in his wheelhouse.
I feel like Sivers one of those weird, like, niche champions where you're like, I don't want to play enchanters, but I'll play Karma. Is like a very similar thing for supports.
Sure.
Because it's just fun early, even though it's not maybe a Callista type of champion. Can still be aggressive early. It still has its merits, but yeah, it's definitely about hitting 1,000,000 CS with a crit build. Rogue, don't think ever dies here. And there's 3 people.
I know, this is what's so criminal about it. Praetor's not there. I mean, he's acting literally as a support, roaming to the mid lane with the rest of his team, and Rogue's just like, I'll just trim this wave, and you've invested this time, Mayfun. Is it going to net you anything? He's going to go for the blue buff steal, which Pentanet have no idea about, and he just gets out like that. Easy, Hexgate, disengage.
But of course, you have to say the blue buff is now being traded for a Rift Herald, which is still quite favorable for Balkan, so he'll happily lose the blue to get a full turret potentially, especially as mid seems to be 1 charge away. Praetor's showing in mid. Also, seems like their intent could have been to immediately summon it. But Balkan would rather get a little bit of extra money first before he considers that to be a mandatory. And this is really a difficult spot for Mammoth to be. To go from this position to hit late game, where they could feel comfortable fighting, becomes harder and harder. Silas, well and truly scaled, can be a side lane threat, can be a team fight threat. Balkan, as you're seeing, is a monster.
He's an absolute weapon right now.
He does not care.
Anywhere he goes, he's always got the backup of his team. There's the keg, and where you going? Straight destroyed. As Winterer finds himself his first kill of the game. He's been putting in a lot of work this one. Rogue, meanwhile, he's just going to gobble up Voice and just show how weak, apparently, AD carry may just be. There's the Abyssal Dive. Voice will sidestep that one. The Ignite goes out. The Flash
Rogue.
Chomp and a lick of a tongue. And Rogue has absolutely crushed the dreams of Voice.
Just takes him out, just gets the solo kill with the compliments of a Praetor's ultimate mid.
Yuri jumps in. That's a lovely little play for him to find, as the Demonic Ascension has been stolen away. And I've seen how this one works out before. It's not to be the major skirmish we're hoping for, but they're certainly flexing their strength in this game.
Winterer runs out of minions, tanks a couple of turret shots in there, but is now threatening for the top lane inner itself. Should be able to get this one. The Trial by Fire passive has still got flash, worst case scenario, but honestly, I think he double kills both of them. if they try and make a play onto him. They'll break the top inner. They'll break the mid lane outer. They got a solo kill bot lane as well. The map is theirs to do whatever they want with.
2 turrets and a kill. You really can't ask for much more, especially when you're showing that wealth around with plenty of assists. Given the nature of all these global champions, right? The fact that a GP and a Senna can facilitate moments like that where Rogue can understand the number limit of, well, I've got all in potential. There's no way that the Civer steps up and staunches me out like this. Bear in mind, once again, it is a farming time Kench, and showcasing just how strong he is.
And again, the issue here is no priority in any lane. Impossible to play the game as a jungler, as a support, if there is no lane to actually play for. Honestly, their only answer is to just let Voice farm, right? Just pray to the gods that we can funnel Voice for long enough, give him all the jungle camps. A cheap, efficient item build now from Mayfarn. Maybe even tanky, right? From where he's going now with an Executioners. Could be that chainsword build. Maybe even tank after. There's not many other good options, you know? Gangplank scaling, Navoric quick blades
And I was
done
just
for
going to say, it
Winter
almost
as
looks
well.
like the Donkey Kong build, right? It's just
Yeah.
perma chucking out barrels.
Kegs like you wouldn't believe. Certainly a good name for the build. Kratos also gone for the Kraken Slayer.
Well, speaking of him, here he goes, looking for a cheeky 1v2. There it is, that's a fadeaway parlay on towards Mayfarn. He's going to flash away from this one. He's going to hit a barrel and say, that's as much as I can do. He had a fair crack at it. But Paprise will get his first kill, and it's an all-important shutdown.
Yeah, I mean, he also could have ulted to clear the wave instead of losing a turret, but you've got Belkan in the area. Paprise has just dashed away, so Belkan could consider ulting on that cooldown.
They're still keen.
And a wide flank.
Volkan's going to do as much as he can to keep this man interested, and Paprise will utilize the passive to slow and stun him down.
This could take a while.
I mean, it is the literal widest flank. It's going to take a while. Rogue's lost interest. He just doesn't care anymore. Prativ's still going to say, yes, Mr. Volkan, I'm here to protect you. There's my assist. There's a soul. I'm happy.
And I mean, while it took a while, it happened. And that's really what we've got to walk away with here from this one. Kratos there, Rogue going to continue to try and get some farm. 4 members strong of Mammoth now playing on the bottom side of the map. A blue trinket will spot one of them, and they will secure the scuttle. I think you can judge the state of this game by who gets that scuttle crab. Voice is well and truly in the driver's seat for farm at all costs. And threatening this dive without your Sivir is risky. A teleport also has just been used by Yuri to deny mid-farm. And they are collapsing.
Just out of range of the tongue lash there, but Yuri's still on. He's going to dash across this wall and then chains on in, looking for that tank target. There's the Dawning Shadow once again, and he's got the Demonic Ascension on towards 3 members with a flash to secure it if he needed to. He's still going on through. There's another chain, there's a passive, and there's a attack to get himself in the mix one more time. That's Winter finding his 3rd kill off the game. Same to be said actually of Rogue as well. And 11 kills and a 10k lead now, Rusty, at 21 minutes.
I think suffice to say, Silas having a Swain ultimate to steal and a Tahm Kench to protect him is absurdly powerful. It will never die. And we asked last time we saw this combo, does Yuri have a team? The answer is a resounding yes this time around. PGG just wiping the floor with Mammoth. An unbelievable gold lead this early on, and they really are just clinging to hopes and dreams, Mammoth, to stay in this game at all.
They really are. Let's check in with that total gold once again to see sort of where we're at in this game. Winter, no surprise, he's farming up an absolute storm, and who would have known? Combined with your passive and to get all those kills too, you really are going to be in a league of your own. Volkan is going to try and tease the idea of perhaps jumping on in for a fight. Rogue doesn't have the Devour just yet, but he can just flag and drag away, just tease them.
I wouldn't have been shocked to see Rogue go in there to actually take the fight, but they will choose to disengage. Yuri farming on the other side of the map as well to take what he can. Is now hunting, is on the prowl for kills. 4 members strong of PGG, both sweeping and see each other with the lens. I feel like Baron is the pretty obvious protocol, but you've got a soul up in 1 minute and 40 seconds. PGG with no requirements to do a single thing for the next 1 minute and 40. Just get vision control at that red side quadrant of the map. Just let your gangplank run wild in the meantime.
Certainly has been running wild. He's not even trading his ult to try and clear out waves. He's going for the kills. He wants to farm up those stacks. Had such a phenomenal week 7 with back-to-back games on that Gnar. And certainly well on the running to try and put himself in the mix once again here tonight. You said it was going to be a bit of a boring lane. You said he was going to absolutely crush it. Certainly has so far. It's not without the rest of his team running around and saying this is what made us so strong and this is why we didn't make any roster changes coming into Split 2.
I mean, definitely has them in a chokehold, compliments of a Jarvan that is absolutely everywhere. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me, right, is I feel like Pentiment.gg lost their jungler for a bit there. And I do think that they've started to re-find him a little bit more. The second game of last week with that Lee Sin, I think he was like 9-1.
Got 13 kills at the end.
Yeah, had an insane performance. And this is now doubling up on that as well. Playing the Jarvan, composition makes sense to pick a Jarvan into it as well if you want to engage. Sivir Swain, very much a locked-in place. And meanwhile, winning the game. Actually about to hit the Nexus. And Sejuani is here because he doesn't have teleport.
They're not basing.
Meanwhile,
They can't base.
literally winning the game. Pentiment.gg will force the fight.
He's just been granted a freebie, Rusty. I don't believe it. And then
Still
LAG
going.
says we have to go in. We're just losing the game right now. So out goes the Magnet Storm. There is the Cannon Barrage. Massive wombo on top of everybody's head so far as Balkan just removes voice from the equation. This Sivir, it's got 2 items, but it needs really 2 more at this stage of the game because there is a double for Mr. Balkan. A perfect 6-0 scoreline for him. And they are hunting for the ace, but thankfully for Refury, he's nowhere near.
Thankfully, Refury wins his 1v1 against Winter. That is really the saving grace for Mammoth in this game because it keeps their Nexus alive, pushes Winter out of base, forces his flash. That really is all that they get. Where are
Here
you
we
off
go.
to, bud?
Watch this. Yuri's just going to absolutely crush him. Leandri's demonic. And you're just dead. And there's an extra buff. I mean, really, we are achieving peak perfection here for Pentiment to pick up a Hextech Soul into a Baron, into a kill for a rather delayed ace.
Baron, Drake, and a kill all at the same time. You can't ask for much more. Most people would say that's greedy, but they're so far ahead, it's just working instead.
Yeah.
These resets are about to get them fairly large item spikes. See, the Gwynzoos is now done for Praedyth as an example. The only thing really missing is the death cap completion from Yuri. But they're strong enough to just walk over the Nexus at this point. I feel like they could just pick a lane, put a Baron buff on it. They're even grouping up with Winterer this time. Almost 4 items done for Winterer just quietly.
Yeah. Had enough of him having all the fun in this game as they are circling in on a catastrophic 20k gold lead. Not often you get to see a number as high as that separating 2 teams. Pentiment are certainly wanting to really ramp up their ability to not drop games.
There's no way Sivir can deal with Silas in a 1v1 mid. They want to give voice all of the farm, all of the time, but there's no place to be.
Might be just putting a bug
Engage
right
on.
now. Balkan's just landed a 3-man Cataclysm. LAG jumps out of that one with a Magnet Storm to lock in 3 people as well, but the battle between the AoEs is always going to favour Pentiment. They just have too much gold, and they're going to find another golden target in that Swain, but it's another ace. Yuri's going to fall on down, dying to the turret, acting as the 6th member, but it does not matter, Rusty. Pentiment are going to go 9-7 in the standings, and that's back-to-back wins.
And it may not be a perfect ace, but it is still a perfectly reasonable victory from Pentiment.gg. They looked clean, curling their chairs for no apparent reason, but it's good to see them back in action.
He's found his energy.
That's it. They found their energy. They found their dub. I feel like they've actually found themselves as a team again because they're finally feeling back, ready for playoffs.
Look at Rogue with the 50 different headsets on.
Shout out headset guy.
He's got the comms. I'm playing Tom Kench. I'm going in. We're killing a Sivir. We're, as you're doing, curling. I didn't call it benching this time. I'm glad you
didn't.
took
No,
it.
I said
Thank
it.
you so
I
much.
said it.
I'm never living that one down.
Safe.
Benching. We could make it happen. We could bench some dares as well if you really wanted to, my man Skimmy. By the way, big game.
Sure.
big post-game celebration. Much more energy coming out of Winterer. You could tell in that pre-game he was just fully focused, not only on the game, building too many items to even count, but also fully focused on just curling chairs. So, big man, big performance in the top lane. I think he made Pappy look a little lost. I was looking at Pappy and I was like, oh man, He's having a rough game. Like, all this Kale gameplay, he's kind of forgotten how to play other champs. It kind of feels like what's going on.
I mean, I feel like that's a bit harsh.
That was a joke.
But it's not what you said. He struggled, absolutely,
To be
but
fair,
he had a
yeah,
Jarvan in his
he was in a losing matchup as well as the Sejuani into Gangplank. It's quite impossible to play as a melee champion that's a tank, where you have a Gangplank constantly queuing into your face where you can't really trade back. So you do need help from your jungler, but we didn't actually see Mayfan really help out anywhere in the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing for me, right? Like, Balkan had a read on him from, like, the first buff that he took. Straight from red to his own red to deny anything, and just controlled that half of the map to make sure that Winterer stopped Paprise from having fun.
It was just, an interesting affair.
Yeah.
It was like, even just the amount of help that Balkan delivered to every single lane throughout the game was just unmatchable by Mayfan, who was... It felt like from, that initial invade, it was just him on the back foot and didn't do too much to try to get him back in. I feel like I didn't even see many early uses of his ult. He was just never there. He was always caught in the jungle, always caught in rotation, and just really couldn't keep up with what PGG were doing.
Yeah, and we do see the Sivir pick coming in for tonight from the side of Mammoth, where we actually saw Balkan shut down this damage pick. Well, in my opinion, I think Sivir and Swain are the only damage picks coming out of, or consistent damage coming out of Mammoth. So with Balkan pathing there early and shutting down their win condition, which is the Sivir that is building Kraken nowadays with the new meta, they don't have consistent damage, where if you don't have that Sivir early game, then you're depending on a Sejuani and Wukong, where they just lack damage in that kind of sense when Wukong's not ahead in the first place.
I feel so bad for Mayfan as well. How many times did he go to bot lane to say, we're going to crash this wave and dive? I think he did like 3 times, and every single time it was like, oh, the gank's not on anymore. Like, it just doesn't work. So perhaps he was banking on a lot of that to try and ekal out what Balkan had achieved, and unfortunately didn't land on heads.
It certainly seemed that way. Now, I do have a headset enthusiast actually on the line. Kitty, have you met Rogue before?
I've met Rogue, the headset enthusiast. So how many headsets did you actually have on for that post-game? Because I was counting, was that 3?
There was 4. The story is my headset died yesterday, and I was very, very sad boy because it was like $600. So now I had to go through trying to find my old ones, trying to get one that worked, and they're all scuffed. Even this one's a bit scuffed. So we're in strife right now. But the new one, Express Post, coming in the mail, should be here soon.
I'm excited. Well, hopefully you get your new headset for tomorrow. Let's talk about that match, because you look like you had a lot of fun in that bot lane. So we do have the Senna Tahm Kench coming out for you guys, where Mammoth actually responded with a Rel, which I do know is on paper supposedly to counter that Tahm Kench. So how did you actually find that laning phase being an encounter matchup?
I mean, I don't think the Rel ever once used W, which is kind of fair because it was split map, so I think that neutralizes the matchup entirely. I do think that the Rel doesn't function in that game though, because our solo laners are just big tonk boys. You kind of want to play Rel when you verse like, immobile carries that you can flash on. Like, there's no way Rel can stop a Sylas, so I think it's a pretty useless pick in that instance, and especially when it doesn't get to play lane. So very nice. The Kench was unbenched.
When Yuri picked blind Sylas, we were all a little bit worried, but what was the noise he made in terms of celebrations when he saw Swain picked into him?
I think we all celebrated. I think it was just Yuri noises, like Yuri noises. It's like, it's not English, it's not Korean, it's just Yuri noises. Like, it's like a secret language that only we know, right? It's like months of synergy build up to understand Yuri noises, and sometimes we just have to speak this, Like, we meet in the middle of the two, and that's what we speak.
Is there any chance you can record those for us next time? Either way, we'll let you go, record them, or release them in those, PGG com videos, and we'll hear them on Twitter. Congrats on the big dub.
Thanks, guys.
Always good to chat with Big Rogue.
I miss Pentacoms.
They were good, actually.
They were good, eh?
Yeah, they were goated.
So hopefully we can get some Yuri and Balkan comms, because I'm sure that was just a breath of fresh air. I feel
Happy
like
Yuri noises.
that mid-jungle duo was kind of what we expected all split, or I guess kind of like all year from these two, and things this split sort of just started a little bit slow, but they're really starting to find their feet, as Rogue was saying.
Yeah, it was really good. Really, really good to see. Back-to-back really good performances from Balkan, and I think we've been singing Yuri's praises a lot more consistently, so it's great to see that seemingly the entire team is firing on all cylinders. What a time for that to happen, right? If you're going to look to try and find that form going into playoffs, happy days.
With all these J4 picks, I was not expecting them, considering all the other junglers and all the other things we saw get buffed in this patch. But yeah, J4, do you think it's like a counter, or people have just sort of been playing him and finding
I
the
don't think
groove?
Jarvan's ever been bad.
Yeah.
It's just like we've never really been able to see it in competitive because it's always been Wukong, Viego, Trundle, or Volibear, and that was like it. But Jarvan itself functions really well into a lot of the meta carry roles because there's no mobility there from them, right?
Yeah.
Like Aphelios Jinx being locked in, Jarvan loves that. And so like that kind of goes down the list. Anything that's getting locked is often low mobility. That last game, perfect example. You lock in Siva and Swain, like Jarvan just locks you in.
Yeah.
And like now you've done your job perfectly and you've got Engage in your comp where Wukong isn't available.
This was something we were discussing because we didn't see the interaction happen. Can Rel jump out of J4?
Yeah, we
ult?
saw at the very end there.
We did? Okay.
He
I
jumped
also-
out of
I
the
think-
Cataclysm to Magnet Storm.
I actually think that Jarvan can cancel your jump though if he times his ult correctly. So if Rel jumps
It
too
pulls him
early,
back in?
yeah, it pulls him back in.
Oh.
That sounds horrendous.
Yeah, for the Rel.
Triggered.
It's rough.
I really enjoyed in the earlier game with the J4 ult as well, where he popped the stopwatch solely so Violet couldn't jump out as well.
It's really smart.
That was, yeah, I didn't actually notice it at the time. I just like kind of freaked out. I was like, he's just
Yeah, he's
moving on the
doing
spot.
this.
What is going on? And
It's
then,
just jiggling.
yeah,
Just straight
my
jiggles.
money don't jiggle. Okay, so then that happened, and then yeah, you were just like stoked about the stopwatch and happy days. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. I wonder if we'll get a little bit more going into the next game. We're still just getting something sorted, but I got the word. It's their MVP discussion time. Who's taking it? Who was the best? Was it Yuri or did anyone outperform
I'm
that
giving it
man?
to Balkan. That's
Yeah.
my vote. To
Big
have
B.
two really good performances when your team needs it.
Yep.
We said he was in the running for it last week with Winter, but Winter's week was too strong.
Got her. Sorry. Big B.
What's wrong?
Big
with-
Valky.
Yeah, we got Big Z, we got Big B. Why is it funny?
I haven't heard Balky before.
Valky?
Why are we just calling people? You know, Big Shulk is gonna have some words with you guys. You guys are stealing his name out here.
Okay.
Lil B. Lil B.
Lil B, Big B, Big Man got a Big D MVP.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Help.
Ice Coffee, most valuable player is what that stands
Oh,
for.
Control my
no.
man.
Just letting you all know. 7-0-8. Big game from Big
Instant
Man.
regret button.
71% KP, 18% damage share. I'm sorry. I'm
You know,
sorry.
let me save the segment. Balkan's Jarvan was actually one of his like OG picks when he was originally like pissed from Split 1, and he brought out that Jarvan. He went absolute like psycho mode and he started ganking everyone, which was exactly what we saw today. And I think it actually really suits his playstyle when we do see that it isn't working out for him playing those carry junglers.
Yeah.
So he's decided to step down and play utility, where it's actually turned out a lot better for PGG.
And he's helped out everyone by not only being an absolute beast in the game, he throws everyone into ad breaks. That's like what I do. It's time for one of those, actually. Game 4 coming up just after this. Ladies and gents, don't go too far. It could be a banger. It could be a whitewash. Who knows? Chiefs in order after this.
He's going to dash across this wall with chains on in, looking for that tank target. There's the Thorny Shadow once again, and he's got the Demonic Ascension on towards 3 members with a flash to secure it if he needed to. He's still going on through. There's another chain, there's a passive, and there's an attack to get himself in the mix one more time. That's Winter finding his 3rd kill off the game. Same to be said actually of Rogue as well.
Hey, look, menu bomb.
Gimme, what's on your arm there? No, that's not what I wanted. Anyway,